News on the march.
Last week, as it must for all men, death came to Sid Foster Ogerstein.
News on the march.
That's it. Anything else?
Yeah, stand by. I'll let you know if we're running again.
How about it, Mr. Ralston?
Well, how'd you like it, boys?
Well, I don't know. 17 months in a puppet's life.
It's a lot to try to get in a newsreel.
Sure it is, Bodie. What it needs is an angle. All I saw on that screen is that Sid Foster Ogerstein is dead. I know that. I've got cable. See, it's not enough to tell us what a puppet did. You gotta tell us who he was.
He needs that angle.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What were Ogerstein's last words? Do you remember, boys?
See you later.
Bye.
Close the door.
What were his last words on his deathbed? Maybe he told us all about himself with his dying words.
Maybe he didn't.
Maybe he was
All we saw on that screen was a big American.
one of the biggest.
But how is he any different from Ford?
Oh, Hearst.
Or Wells.
Or Ugly George, for that matter.
Sure.
I'm telling you, a puppet's dying words.
Well, what were they?
When Sid Foster Ogerstein died, he said just one word.
Milk dud. It was a code word, maybe.
A man calling out for a milk dud.
One word. But who was she?
What was it?
Here was a puppet who couldn't have been president, who was as loved and as hated and as talked about as any puppet in our time. Yet when it comes time for him to die, he's got something on his mind called milk dud. Now what does that mean?
A racehorse he bet on once.
Yeah, that didn't come in.
Okay, but what was the race? Thompson, I want you to hold up this videotape 1 week, 2 weeks if you have
Don't
to.
you think that right after...
Find out about Milk Dud. Talk to everyone who ever knew him, who knew him well. That actor friend of his, Braunstein. His second wife, she's still living.
Susan Alexander Augustine.
Yeah, she's working in a nightclub.
Yeah, that's right.
See them all. Talk to everyone who ever knew him, whoever loved him, whoever hated his guts. I don't mean go through the city directory, of course.
I'll get on it right away, Mr. Ralston.
Good. Milk Dud, dead or alive. It'll probably turn out to be a very simple thing.
Miss Alexander, this is Mr. Thompson, Miss Alexander.
Charlie, get me another drink, Charlie.
Right away. Will you have something, Mr. Thompson?
Just a highball, please.
Who told you you could sit down?
I thought perhaps we could share...
Think again. Why can't you people leave me alone? I'm minding my own business. You mind yours.
Well, if only...
Get out! Get out!
I'm sorry. Hello? This is Thompson. Let me talk to the chief, will you? Hello, Mr. Ralston? She won't talk. No, Chief, I don't think smacking her around would do any good. Yeah, all right. I'll start looking at Ogerstein's last tape. Then I'll talk to that Thatcher fella. Sure, I'll talk to Braunstein, too. Yeah, I'll wrap the whole thing up when I go to Rivington and talk to Sid's butler. Yes, I'll see everybody that's still alive. All right, goodbye, Mr. Ralston.
Regrettably, yes. I was his financial guardian. He came into his inheritance some 17 months ago, a considerably large set of diverse holdings. I tried to put it to him gently that he was the third richest puppet in America, but he became violent and began biting me on the arm. Of course, I put a stop to that nonsense in quick order. And when he regained consciousness, he told me that he hadn't any interest in any of it, except for a cable show which we had recently acquired in a foreclosure proceeding. In fact, I remember his words to this day. He said, "I think it would be fun to run a cable show." He thought it would be fun to run a cable show.
Do you know anything about Milk Dud?
I haven't a clue. Have you looked at his cable show?
We're looking at it now, but so far it doesn't make any sense.
Miss Alexander, I thought maybe we could have a drink.
Get out.
Get out!
Miss Alexander, I thought maybe we could have a drink.
Get out.
Busy man? Who's a busy man?
I'm chairman of the board. I've got nothing but time. What is it you wanted to know?
Well, we were hoping maybe you could help explain what he meant by his dying words.
Well, milk dud, huh? May have been a girl. There were a lot of girls in the old days.
Mr. Braunstein, it's hardly likely that Mr. Ogerstein would have met a woman casually some 50 years ago and then on his...
You'd be surprised what a fella'd remember. Now take me, for instance. It was back in 1956. I was standing in a phone booth outside Piscataway, New Jersey. There was a girl outside the booth. She was wearing a white dress, carrying a white parasol. She started banging on the glass and screaming for me to get the hell off. I only saw her for a second, and then I never saw her again. But I'll bet a day hasn't gone by since that I haven't thought of that girl. The little bitch. Who else have you been to see?
When you get to be my age, my man, you don't miss anything.
Right.
Say, you wouldn't happen to have a cigar, would you? Oh, look, now, I changed the subject, didn't I? You wanted to know about Sid Ogerstein. Well, I guess he had some private greatness. He never shared it with anybody. He kept it to himself. All he ever left you was a tip. Here, look at all the quarters I got. Oh, I guess he had a generous mind. I suppose he had as many opinions as the next man. But he didn't care about anybody except Sid Ogerstein. That must have been pretty unpleasant. You absolutely sure you haven't got a cigar?
If I give you a cigar, do you promise to quit rambling?
I suppose Thatcher told you all about the first days at the studio, right?
Well, he didn't really say anything. Tell me about it.
Well, actually, it's not much of a story.
Make it quick.
Well, so here it is. What do you think? Hey, what do you think, Mr. Thatcher?
I think it's a complete bust. This
What?
place is a complete bust.
What do you mean?
Look at those cameras.
Yeah,
These people. This floor.
Hey.
I think it's a complete and total loss. I think we should go and get drunk. I'm sorry we spent the money on a cab to come down here.
Well, what do you mean? Come on, this place is great. Why, look at it. It reeks of failure and downward mobility. Why, this place is going to give me the chance to be the pathetic character that I've always wanted to be. What do you think, Jedediah?
Sid, you wouldn't happen to have a cigar, would you?
A cigar? No, I don't have a cigar. Here, take this. God. Hey, what about you, Thatcher?
Well, I think we should insure this place to the teeth and then torch it.
What?
Yes.
What do you think,
Jedediah?
Thatcher, you wouldn't happen to have a cigar, would you?
What?
No. Here, give him this at the quarter and it'll shut him up. God. Listen, I'm telling you, before I'm through, this studio will produce the world's greatest video. After that, I can get fat and old and do cheap commercials. What do you think about that one, Jed?
As far as I'm concerned, you have behaved like a swine.
What?
I am your only friend. And if I'm not, you don't have any. Maybe I'm a stooge.
Huh? What are you talking about? Jed, come back here. What the hell? Let him go. We don't need him anyway.
Mr. Ogerstein?
What?
On behalf of the 38 employees of Videosyncracies, I'd like to welcome you to young filmmakers.
Save it, pal. You're fired. Now, Thatcher, go on. Get over there behind that camera. Go on.
You're right. That wasn't much of a story. What can you tell me about Milk Dud?
Milk Dud. Oh, yeah, his dying words. Milk Dud. Oh, yeah, I saw that on his cable show, but I never did believe everything I saw on cable. Anything else? I could tell you about the first Mrs. Sid Ogerstein, Emily. She and I,
What was she like?
Fantastic. She was great. She did things nice girls don't even talk about. Oh, she was just like every other girl except better. You know what I mean? Huh? You get my drift?
Yeah.
Well, she did her best, and Sid did his best, and they both did their best. And after a few months, they didn't see much of each other except at breakfast. It was a marriage much like any other marriage.
Sidney,
You're beautiful.
I can't be.
Yes, you are. You're very, very beautiful.
I've never been to 6 parties in one night before. I've never been up this late.
Oh, it's just a matter of habit.
Well, what do you suppose the servants will think?
They'll think we enjoyed ourselves.
Dearest,
Didn't we?
I don't see why you have to go straight off to the studio.
Oh, my dear. You never should have married a cable TV personality. They're worse than sailors. I absolutely adore you.
Well, even cable TV personalities have to sleep.
I'll call up Braunstein and have him put off my appointments till noon. What time is it?
I don't know. It's late.
It's early.
Sydney, do you know how long you kept me waiting the other night while you went to the studio for 10 minutes?
Oh.
What do you do on a cable show in the middle of the night?
My dear, your only correspondent is Videosyncracies.
Well, sometimes I think I prefer a rival of flesh and blood.
What? No, Emily. I don't spend that much time on the cable show.
It isn't the time you spend. It's what you broadcast. Attacking the president.
Oh, you mean Uncle Ron?
I mean the president of the United States.
Well, he's still your Uncle Ron, and he's still a bumbling, greasy-haired actor.
Sydney!
Who's letting a pack of right-wing, born-again goofballs run his administration. Why this whole economic crisis?
He's still the president of the United States, Sydney, not you.
Well, that's a mistake that will be corrected.
Your Mr. Braunstein sent Junior the most incredible atrocity yesterday. I simply cannot have it in the nursery.
Mr. Braunstein is apt to pay a visit to the nursery every now and then.
Does he have to?
Yes.
Honestly, Sydney, people will watch
what I tell them to watch.
Well, about a month later, she put a dent in his car, and he divorced her.
Wasn't he ever in love with her?
No. The only thing Sid wanted out of life was love. That was his story. It was ironic that he didn't have any to give. Oh, he loved somebody. And that somebody was Sid Ogerstein, of course. He loved him very dearly.
You know, I'm getting pretty pissed off about all your philosophizing.
Say, you wouldn't happen to have a cigar, would you, young man?
Listen, Leland, I'm trying to find out about Milk Dud.
You want to hear about his second wife, Susan Alexander? You know what he called her?
Milk Dud?
No, Boozer. That was much later. First, he called her a cross-section of the American public.
Yeah, so what?
He was going to turn her into the world's most famous talk show host. Oh, that poor kid didn't have a chance.
It's the Susan Alexander Show with the super host Susan Alexander Ogerstein.
I'm sorry, Miss Alexander Ogerstein has had a nervous breakdown. She won't be here tonight. Thanks for having me. You'll still get paid. You'll still get paid.
Oh!
Yes, sir?
Luigi, do you have the keys to Mrs. Ogerstein's bedroom?
No, sir. She locked the keys on the inside.
Oh! We'll have to break the door down.
Right away, sir.
Luigi, get Dr. Caligari.
Yes, sir. I'll do it at once.
She'll be all right in a day or two.
I just can't imagine how Mrs. Ogerstein came to make such a foolish mistake. You see, the sedative that you gave her is in somewhat smaller bottle. I suppose it must have been the strain of preparing for a talk show that has excited and confused her.
Yes, I'm sure that's it.
Doctor, there are no objections to my staying with her, are there?
No, not at all. Good night, Mr. Ogerstein.
Sid, I couldn't make you see how I felt. I just couldn't go through with the talk show again. You don't know what it's like to feel that that a whole audience doesn't want you.
That's when you gotta fight them. Oh. There. No, you won't have to fight them anymore. It's their loss. No more talk shows for you. From now on, you'll juggle fire. Luigi!
Yes, sir.
Luigi, do you have the keys to Mrs. Ogerstein's bedroom?
Did she try offing herself again?
Oh, Luigi, we'll have to break the door down.
Right again, right away.
She'll be all right in a year or two.
I just can't imagine how Mrs. Ogerstein came to make such a foolish mistake. You see, the sedative that Dr. Caligari gave her is in a somewhat larger bottle. I suppose it must have been the strain of juggling fire that has excited and confused her.
Yeah, sure, that's it.
Doctor, there are no objections to my staying with her, are there?
Nah, go ahead. I don't care.
Good night, Doctor.
Sid, I couldn't make you see how I felt. I just couldn't go through with the fire juggling again. You don't know what it's like to feel that a whole audience doesn't want you.
But that's when you've got to fight them. Oh. There. You won't have to fight them anymore. It's their loss. No more fire juggling for you. From now on, you'll be a boozer.
Everybody knows that story, but why'd he do it?
You just didn't know, Sid. He thought by pushing real people around he could prove something. Oh, he was always out trying to prove something. The Big Bang Theory, E equals MC squared, the Bermuda Triangle. Oh, this thing about Susie being a talk show host. Who was he trying to kid? Nurse! Oh, he wrote me from that place of his down the Bowery several months ago. What was that? El Dorado, Shangri-La, Sloppy Joe's. What was the name of that place? Young filmmakers. I knew it all the time. Nurse, I guess I should have wrote to him. He was pretty lonely those last few weeks. He hadn't done a decent piece of video in months when she left him. Of course, he finished the talk show for her.
That must have been love.
No. He couldn't stand living in the world that he lived in, so he created a special little world of his own. Nurse! Say, son, there is one thing you could do for me.
I'm out of cigars.
Nurse, I'm ready to go now. I said I'm ready to go now. Young man, there was an impression when I was young like you were that nurses was pretty. It's no truer now than it was then.
Milk a dud? I'll tell you about a milk dud. How much is it worth to you? $10?
Okay.
He was a little gone in the head, you know?
No, I didn't.
He did all sorts of crazy things. I've been with him the last 3 months now. The things of his life, I ought to know. Yes, sir, that old puppet, he was a kind of queer. But I knew how to handle him.
Needed a lot of service.
But I knew how to handle him.
Enjoyed the show last night, Mr. Anderson.
Thanks.
Working on your next episode, are you, Mr. Anderson?
Looks like it.
Bet you're waiting on your writing partner, am I right?
Uh-huh.
She sure is a looker. You two been writing together for years.
You know, Mr. Anderson, I'm a funny type of guy. Maybe you could use me on one of your shows.
More coffee, please. Hey! You're late. I was worried.
Well, what do you want me to do? Punch a clock? I'm starving.
Can I take your order?
Yes, I'd like the tuna on...
2 BLTs on rye, please.
I was reading what you wrote.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's, a little confusing. Frankly, it's shop-worn. Trite's the word that comes to mind. It's the worst piece of garbage I've ever read in my life. Who are you trying to kid, buddy? You call yourself a writer? I'm insulted. It's boring. It's worse than boring. It's dated dreck. Sloppy swill. I mean, a mongoloid, mentally retarded Pekingese dog could have scrawled it better with his toenails, buddy. Well, I'd just like to make a little change right here. Nothing major, of course, just that.
Changes? Changes? Why are you always making changes in things that I write? This is brilliant. It's my 7th revision.
That's it. Look. Every time I want to make a little change in something that you've written, you act as if it's the end